Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Diplomatic Enclave. I'm your host, Khalid. But as is the case with our show, we try to interview ambassadors, heads of organizations. Sometimes it happens that we interview prime ministers, presidents, and foreign ministers and other ministers from other countries as well. The whole aim is to understand their point of view as far as Pakistan is concerned, where they stand within the Committee of Nations, and how important is the collaboration between their country, their organization, and Pakistan. This program is no exception. We have with us an ambassador who belongs to a country that Pakistan is extremely friendly with. They have had a presence in our country and an influence in the subcontinent, in our country, not since now, but since centuries. The fact always is that this country has also tried to do its level best to improve the collaboration with Pakistan in different fields. And this time we are going to talk about an aspect that we have been trying to promote, that is the soft image. I think the soft image is extremely important for any country, and so it is for the country whose ambassador I'm going to interview. We have also the privilege to have a very renowned musician from that very country who joins us for this very show, and we thought to add a little musical flavor to that. So that be it. Let me introduce my guest to you. He's none other than the ambassador of Portugal to Pakistan, His Excellency Mr. Frederico Silva. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our second guest, I'd like to introduce him before I, talk to him. He is a classic guitarist. He is a classical composer. He is in Pakistan for a small number of days, but in that number of days, he has influenced many, many people in Islamabad, in Lahore. He has given master classes. Pedro, Jóia, thank you very much to have joined us.
It's my pleasure, sir. Thank you.
We'll begin with you, Excellency Frederico. You've been here since around 2 years. Before we move on to the cultural aspect of it all, I'd like to understand what your impression of Pakistan has been in these 2 years, what you've visited, what is the fondest memory that you have when I ask about Pakistan or about the moments that have made an impact on you?
I've been here for 2 years and 3 months now, but I really have the impression that it was only a couple of months because it was so intense, and I had the opportunity and the profit of visiting almost all the regions of Pakistan. That is a beautiful country with such a diverse and rich and old history. The feelings that I have after all this time, Pakistani people is one of the most friendly, polite and kind that I had the opportunity to live with, and in terms it has been a true pleasure. Portugal and Pakistan, we entertain diplomatic relationships, very friendly and very cooperative since ever. And this since ever is a lot of time because this year, 2025, we are celebrating, both Pakistan and Portugal, 75 years of diplomatic relations and cooperation. As you well mentioned, the presence of Portugal in this part of the world, where today is Pakistan, didn't start 75 years ago. It started 6 centuries ago. And since 1498, when Vasco da Gama approached and visited these lands, there has been a lot of interactions, cultural, diplomatic. There were agreements between the Portuguese authorities and at that moment and the Mughal court. There will be traders, there will be missionary, a lot of contacts. Also, just to finish this quick picture, there is a small village near Gvadar that was settled by Portuguese in 1515. The name is Gans, and still, of course, long time ago, but there are some reminiscences in the architecture, in the people, about these first settlers.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's excellent. Mr. Jóia, I'd like to understand where you come from musically. I mean, was music in your family? Was your father a musician as well that influenced you? Was there somebody else that you were so impressed by that you wanted to pursue music? Where did that inspiration come from?
My father, my brother, my sister, they're all engineers, so I'm the only one musician. But despite that, I'm very happy. I thanks very much to my father to have the brilliant idea to put me very young studying music, which is a very noble activity in my point of view. I think everybody in this world should, during the childhood, have a contact with music, because music can transform us. music can transform the world. I think music is a wonderful thing in our lives. Well, I'm a Portuguese musician. My origin musically is Portuguese because I come from Lisbon, which is a wonderful city, capital of Portugal, with a very unique musical expression, which is a fado. And the fado, it's a very rich expression, not only musically, but as well as in terms of poet.
All right. Now, speaking of fado, I mean, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what fado is. Fado is a melancholy urban music that originated in Lisbon, usually associated with the Portuguese guitar, as in your case, Mr. Jóia, and the saudade or saudade, how do you spell that?
Saudade.
Saudade, okay, or longing. I mean, this is, there is a serenading, we've heard of a serenading fado, we've heard of different kinds of fado. Before we move forward, because we have you, we have a guitar, could you just give an example of what fado is all about? Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, Mr. Jóia, what I really like about it is that there's a lot of melancholy, there's a lot of love in it as well.
Absolutely.
When you are listening to that music, you think of moments in your past that have brought joy to your life. That have also, that you still, long for, that little touch sometimes, that little moment with somebody special. That music brings to mind, and immediately you go towards that place or that moment that has made an impact in your life. Excellency, I'll come to you as far as this whole trend of fado music is concerned. Carlos Paredes, you've got Amalia Rodriguez, and so many other greats that have made an impact when it comes to fado music. How important is music to Portugal? And do you feel that over time, the inspirations for music in your country have changed, or do they still remain the same now in 2025?
You know that Portugal, just to start, is probably the oldest country in Europe. We have almost 9 centuries of history in the borders, with the population, with the language, with some of our tradition. So we passed a lot during these 9 centuries. And we had a very specific fate or destiny in the orchestra of the nations in the world, because we, small country in the western part of Europe, with a small population like 1 million in the 15th century, we managed to be the first ones, the first humans to connect all the continents by sea. Europe, first with Africa, then with America, and then with Asia. And during 6 centuries, it was our fate to see our best people, our best energy, our best resources navigating to all these continents. And so it created a mindset and a way of a collective soul that is very particular. We are in Europe geographically, but we are not exactly very much Europeans.
Pedro, you've performed in so many continents. We were talking to the Excellency before the programming was giving us all the different countries where you've performed, from the US to the subcontinent. You are here in Pakistan, you've gone to China, you've gone to Venezuela, and you've performed so many different places. Does every place where you perform bring a different flavor for you? Does it also somehow enrich your experience as a musician? Because I think when you go to a certain place, you somehow imbibe or absorb a little part of their soul, of their life as well. So does it also enrich your music in the long run?
Absolutely. And music is always the common aspect that bring people together. So I go to China, I don't speak any Chinese, but I immediately can play with a Chinese musician without saying a word. I start playing, he starts playing with me. We have this common language. The same in Pakistan, which I'll be very glad today to play with some musicians from Pakistan. Incredible musicians, flute, tabla, and voice singer. I'm a big fan. I don't like exactly the word fan. I appreciate very much, admirer of the Sufi expression, the Sufi music, Fateh Ali Khan, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, Sabri Brothers, the Cavalli style. As you told, the same feeling you had about the Fado, without understanding any word, it's exactly the same feeling I have with Sufi music. I don't understand the word, but touched me very deeply in my heart. So music around the world is that common expression. Everywhere I go, everywhere I play with different musicians, I have that feeling.
Excellency, Portugal has so many music festivals. I mean, Festival Sudoeste, you have the Festival de Parades do Coura, if I'm not wrong. Then you have the Festival Vilar de Muros near Caminha. Okay, and the Boom Festival in Idhana Nova municipality. You've got the Optimus Alive. You have got so many others. Any important festivals that are going to be held this year in this summer? Summer season is just upon us, and there are so many festivals I'm sure that are going to happen. What are the ones that are extremely popular?
You know that indeed the schedule or the plan is very fertile. The calendar of festivals, and you can find musical festivals like theater too, and literary festivals of every kind, for all tastes and flavors, for all kind of musical expressions. You have world music, you have traditional music, you have rock, you have everything, name it. And also I'm pleased to inform you that in the last years several festivals in Portugal have invited musicians from Pakistan. I can remember how successful was 2 years ago. This old musician from Balochistan, I'm very sorry I don't remember the name now, but he's kind of legendary. He went there with this traditional instrument of Balochi. It was amazing. It was in the top pages of the specialized press. And so it's indeed a very fertile. We have a lot of festivals of music, of literature, of theater, of cinema, because probably because we are a little bit old, 9 centuries, as I told you, we value a lot culture. We believe that culture is the most powerful tool to recall our humanity and to give the emphasis to the need of dialogue.
What role does cultural diversity play as far as your creative process is concerned? And have you discovered any new inspirations during, say, your visit in Pakistan or other countries?
Can I give you an example?
Yes.
By an Indian scale, quer dizer. So this little piece of music is very much influenced on this. sounds a little bit Hindustani
Yes,
music.
yes.
Could be India, could be
Yes,
Pakistan.
exactly. Could be Bangladesh.
Could be Bangladesh.
I mean, let me be very blunt.
Well, first of all, the Sufi tradition, the Sufi music.
You've talked about that.
Yes, the Sufi.
Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, you've talked about
Yes.
other qawwals as well, yes.
How can I explain that a young boy, 15, 16 years old, like I was, hears the music of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, and it was like a mystery that was revealed to me. For example, what can explain this? It's a very deep expression, musical expression, which touched me in a very emotional way.
You know, Pedro, there's something, for example, when you were just playing Fado, I had to hold my tears, you know. It is something that makes you instantly emotional. Did Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan's music also do the same to you?
Not tears, but joy and interior joy. Those moments where Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan was singing very high, you know, and the public.
It's a musical explosion.
It's an explosion. That's right. It's some marvelous energy which comes with that music.
That is so true. Excellency, you were talking so much of culture. I mean, I know that Portugal is embedded in different forms of culture, and as I also got a first-hand experience that every single person more or less is a poet in Portugal, including yourself. Modern Portuguese poetry, I read and my research also showed, is rooted in new classic and contemporary styles like that of Fernando Pessoa and literature that is represented by authors such as Almeida Garrett, Camilo Castelo Branco, and so many others. How has poetry and literature evolved in Portugal?
It evolved in a very speedy way, in a very dynamic context. As I mentioned, the Portuguese literature, not only poetry but also fiction and theater and whatever, evolved a lot following also the evolution of history. You have a lot of great poets from the 12th, 13th age, the medieval, Middle Age, very beautiful, that still today are part of our today repertoire, let's say traditional repertoire, and musicians and composers use as well. Then, with the impact of the contact with the other continents, another cycle came. And we produced at that exact moment probably one of the great epic of the world, Luís de Camões, that wrote a huge epic world recognized about the Portuguese navigations, like the Romans did with Iliad, etc. You mentioned Fernando Pessoa. Fernando Pessoa is just totally exceptional. This was from the beginning of the 20th century, and he was multiplied human nature with a body, but with a lot of souls inside. Totally different, if you can believe it or not.
Yes.
It was, but you have so many names. You mentioned some classic names from the 19th century. We have poets, immense poets, like a lady called Sophia de Melo Breiner Anderson, unfortunately already passed away, Herberto Helder. You have a fantastic writers like José Saramago, that was Nobel Prize, and probably for me personally the best of all them, that called António Lobo Antunes. So indeed, you know, we have a rich history. We have a history of contact. We don't stay home. We go south. We navigate. We go search the other. For moments of light, moments of cloud, we assume all of them. That's the history of humanity. Nothing is totally one side of the moon. You have the dark side, you have the light side. That's every time the same thing. But we are very proud of being the fruit of it, of being Europeans, but not only, of being quite a specific people in culture.
I think that is very important. But what I really take from this conversation right now is the fact that you are ready to go to any place in the world to navigate, to explore, to find what you are looking for, whether it be in the forms of literature, poetry, or even music. Pedro, before I move to the other parts of the world, you've performed, you've done master classes in Pakistan, in both Islamabad and Lahore. What impressions do you get as far as Pakistani musicians with whom you've performed is concerned? Do you feel that classical guitar or this form of music has grown in this region? Is there potential for the form of music that you do to further grow in this region as well?
Well, I believe in Pakistan, the classical guitar has not reached yet a point that can reach in the future, because you have a long tradition of string instruments, like the rabab, for example, like the sitars and incredible traditional instruments. But this instrument is it's an originally Western instrument, and I fully understand that in Pakistan, it's not yet developed like in Spain or Portugal.
That is understandable.
Yes, of course. And I value very much this passion that you Pakistanis have for your instruments. It's very important to keep it, and to keep it right. I told you this because I didn't find yet too many students of guitar in Pakistan. Nevertheless, they are very interested in this. And that's why I told you Pakistan has a way to do yet in terms of going to the guitar as an instrument, this guitar. And I'll be very glad to participate in this process, for example, with my master classes.
Okay, I think it's important. I think music, conversation, literature, poetry is fusional sometimes as well. You learn and you give, and sometimes between the learning and the giving, you bring up some kind of a melange, some kind of a mix that enriches that poetry or that piece of literature or that piece of music even further. I think I am a strong believer as far as fusion is concerned, or embedding different forms of culture is concerned, and nobody could understand that better than you, Pedro, who've been to so many parts of the world, and you've taken little pieces, and then you, as you showed us in the second, you incorporated that in your kinds of music as well. You talked about the Portuguese cinema excellency. I'm a huge cinema buff, I have to tell you that. Huge cinephile since I was a kid. The only thing that was an outlet to me was cinema and music. My father was also, in the whole cultural arena. You've heard of Pakistan National Council of the Arts. My father started it in the 70s with Faiz Ahmed Faiz. So, and he was a Director General for 17 years. I've seen Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan play in our drawing room. I've seen all the big greats, the biggest musicians, singers playing for us and getting together. And I've had this whole aura of poets also discussing their poetry together and how it influences them. How does cinema, poetry influence each other? For example, how does poetry influence cinema and cinema influence poetry in your point of view?
First, let me congratulate your father, yourself, and all the people that maintains PNCA. It's one of my favorite places in this city. It's a rich oasis of culture, in all the expressions of the world. And I'm a proud customer of PNCA. You mentioned how poetry and music interact, how a different expression interacts with other. And I think they don't interact, they are the same. It's like, let's imagine a cake. A cake, you have to put eggs, you have to put a lot of ingredients for it to be tasty, to be meaningful. And art, of course, it comes from the soul. And soul is a unity. So, of course, it's not like cutting it on slices. Portuguese culture, Pakistan culture, even inside the countries, you can differentiate. In Pakistan, we have so many different approaches to culture manifestations. In Gilgit-Baltistan, in Taxila, in Chitral, in Punjab, in Sindh, so many. So this diversity, or this way of being in the world and looking to the world, creates culture. Human beings need to express, needs to put outside things that they value very much, that are the mainstream of the existence. And so that is culture. Then some of us, we do it talking, some of us, we do it writing, some we do music, some of us do with a lot of other ways, and all are very respectful.
True.
Same value. Going to the cinema question, I can tell you that, of course, cinema, like all other expressions of arts, they come from our collective soul. You mentioned in the beginning a very interesting point, that fado. Fado, if you translate it to English, is like fate.
Yes.
And people normally look to fado or listen to fado and say, whoa, such a melancholic rhythm, such a sad. It's not, in my opinion. It can be very joyful. Because of our history, of our contact, of our dispersion, of our specific experience in this world. We Portuguese, I think we are sophisticated enough, or in other views, crazy enough to have nostalgia of the future, have nostalgia of things that are going to happen. And we want them to happen. We are very nostalgic of this future moment to happen. So we are not only looking to the past, to the separation, also to the junction. And so our culture is that. Even cinema, we are not at all in the mainstream of commercial cinema. We are not at all in this trend of Bollywood, of Hollywood, of the
But
commercial.
you've got Arthur Duarte, you've got Antonio Lopez, you've got Antonio Reyes, you've got Pedro Costa.
Manuel de Oliveira, João César Monteiro. You have fantastic people, movie makers that are poets, are philosophers, they are everything, and they put in the way they create this piece of art called a movie. You can find everything there. You can find music, you can find poetry, you can find a different or a specific way of being in life.
Speaking of personal, Mark, could you play a certain piece that is very personal to you, a small piece, if that's fine with us?
This is a very traditional melody, but I gave my own treatment.
That is wonderful. And you know what I take from this is the fusion of the contemporary and classical. There's so much of that. There are small pieces that are very classical, and then you immediately shift to a very contemporary form of guitar playing, and that is something this is so joyful, you know. When you listen to it, you imagine yourself in a huge field with lots of friends, enjoying, having great food, having great conversations. This is what brings me, you know, brings this music.
That's right. So, what was my treatment? Just very quickly to explain. I had the melody. The melody is. It's a simple melody, and the treatment I try to do it. So I try to complement with a lot of technical aspects, which turn it in a rich musical piece.
Exactly, but more contemporary and more joyful, you know, and that is the hallmark of a great musician, isn't it, Excellency? Excellency, we were talking about music, we were talking about the pieces, and we were talking about experiences. I feel every person has certain influences, certain moments that he cherishes. What are your musical moments? What are your classical moments or literary moments that, you know, you always have cherished all your life, even now in this day in Pakistan? Maybe this form of music brings to your memory, like your music, whenever you play a piece, it brings to my mind a lot of moments that I have cherished. what kind of moments have you cherished musically or culturally that you still want to experience in some way or the other?
I think I'm a very big admirer of music. Music has been part of my life since I'm a small kid, and I think that there are only two categories of music in the world: the good music and the not so good music. So I really appreciate the way people do in many different ways. In Africa, I've been in Africa in so many countries, so they are diverse. There is not an African music. There is so many different kinds of expressing musically in Brazil, in South America, in Europe, other places in Asia. My taste in this has been very well satisfied very regularly, because as you mentioned, when I listen to the Qawwali, great interpreters, the Sufi, the contemporary ones from Karachi, from Lahore, from Islamabad, in so many moments, I can relate so easily, because I can feel when people is transmitting in an authentic manner what they want to transmit, and I can receive this message. That's the good music for me. I'm not saying that it's for everybody. When this message doesn't pass, and somehow I believe that it's cacophonic, so it's like message doesn't pass. So I think it's a question of taste, of personal options. But in Pakistan, that has been very, very enriching to me. This experience of musical expressions on the different regions, Sindh, Punjab, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Gilgit-Baltistan, so many interesting approaches to the sounds.
Speaking of approaches, I'd like to understand, you've received the Carlos Paredes Prize twice, if I'm not wrong, which is a rare recognition for a musician. And I'm so proud to be, in your company now, talking to you, listening to your music, and being with the ambassador, as if we are having a very personal time of our own with you. What do awards mean to you personally? I've asked this question to many people, and every person has a very different answer to it. How also do you view your responsibility now that you have gotten these accolades in shaping Portugal's evolving guitar tradition? I think that is very important, because I think the guitar tradition in your country is extremely important, and that has also evolved. What's your contribution?
Okay, my contribution. Well, first of all, the prices. The prices are very important to musicians and artists in general, because you realize when you receive a prize that someone is aware of what you're doing, someone is respecting your work, your dedication, and that's very important to us artists. When I was talking about the mark I wanted to let on Portuguese music is very much about the second question you put me. Portugal has a long tradition of guitar, especially Portuguese guitar, not much as classical guitar, but Portuguese guitar. It's our main instrument all over the country, not Lisbon, but also Coimbra, which is a city, very important city between Porto and Lisbon. So that instrument is always present in our musical expressions. Carlos Paredes, Coimbra, for example, and Fado, Portuguese guitar from Lisboa. And one of my most important challenges ever, since I'm a musician, is to pick that tradition of Portuguese guitar and transport it into my guitar, into my classical guitar, in order to perhaps universalize that language, create pieces of classical guitar in order to, someone from Spain, Bulgaria, Pakistan or Australia can play it, for example. And that's one of my most important challenges as a guitar player and as a Portuguese guitarist.
All right, that's understandable as well, and I thank you for giving me your explanation or interpretation of what or how important awards are as well. Excellency, when it comes to music, poetry, literature, arts, culture, there are always so many influences, but what also influences them is the people of the country as well. You've got many different ethnicities, more than one language that is spoken as well. How do they contribute to the evolution of your culture?
I think it's a major factor. The diversity contributes to the final result that is a national concept of identity, a national concept of destiny, a national concept of purpose. And so all the diversity, it's like small rivers coming to feed this big lake that is a country, that is a society, that is a family, that is a group. So it's a lot of small lakes. And all of them totally respectable, totally important. As a diplomat, as an ambassador of Portugal here, for me it has been one of my leitmotifs. Of course, we have a lot of work with the Pakistani authorities at all levels. We have a very diversified frame of initiatives going on. But I really believe, and I always believed in all my career of 30 years of diplomat.
That's a huge career.
That these actions, these initiatives of putting people to people, like we used to say, in contact, are one of the more enriching. And of course, the cultural actors, we have been since the beginning, we brought here, the embassy brought here to Pakistan several writers. This year it was a famous journalist and writer, Teresa Nicolau, that has been part in the Lahore Literary Festival, but also went to the Academy of Letters, to Nest University, to press, so many activities. Last year we had a Portuguese Brazilian lady, also a poet, but also a very good specialist in heritage, historical heritage, coming from Ouro Preto, that is one of the Portuguese not located in Portugal, UNESCO heritage sites, because Portugal inside the territory, we have 18 sites classified by UNESCO as World Heritage material. Then you have more 8 or 9 immaterial, like music, some of them are connected with music. But all around the world, because of our history of 6 centuries, you can find Portuguese built heritage classified by UNESCO today in countries like Brazil, a lot, a big lot, Uruguay, in Africa, 5 or 6 countries, including Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, Indonesia, a lot. You have in Macau, classified from UNESCO, you have in Goa, a lot, and in other parts of the world. So I think this activity is very important. We are promoting also, as much as we can, cooperation between universities, between researchers, between digital centers and digital hubs, because these things are what put people talking with people.
Exactly, and I think the most important part of diplomacy is the people-to-people contact. You bring the people together, you remove misunderstandings, you get to know each other's points of views, and they complement each other. I think that is extremely important in that context. Coming to you, so many questions I have to ask you, and I could take 2 hours just to ask you all of those questions. You served as musical director for the Fado singer Marisa. I don't know whether we spell it Marisa or Maritza, I don't know. Marisa, okay. Has that shaped somehow your understanding of the classical Portuguese music in your point of view? I know that Fado still, influences your style of music and the way you play guitar, and it showed in the very first piece that you played for us, that was of course Fado. But coming to music as a genre, my second part of the question, coming to music as a genre, how important is the role of music as a bridge between language, a bridge between identity, a bridge between international understanding?
Okay, first part of the question, Marisa, she created a very powerful mark on Portuguese music. She approaches Fado in a contemporary way, of course, her own way. She created a strong artistic character, and we travel all around the world in the best venues I could imagine, like the Hollywood Bowl in LA, the Carnegie Hall in New York, I don't know, the Munich Opera House, incredible, Sydney Opera House, incredible places. My experience with Marisa touring the world was very important in terms of connecting new audiences, new musicians as well. But for me, the most important is, now turning to the second part of your question, it's my own music as a composer and a guitar player. Music in fact creates bridges between all of us, people of the world. Can be the response to peace.
True.
We can put Palestinians and Israelis playing together, like Daniel Barenboim, the conductor, for example, does. We can put because music has no borders.
True.
That's the most
True.
important.
True.
No, it's an international code. All musicians in the world has that code. So.
Okay, I'm going to ask very rapid questions because I see that time is passing very quickly and our show's time is also ending. What kind of potential do you see as collaboration between Portuguese and Pakistani artists? Perhaps, in your point of view, blending fado, flamenco, or lusophone rhythms with traditional Pakistani instruments like the sitar, tabla, rubab. Do you feel there is an opportunity here?
Yes, I'm very much interested in make my own approach to somehow to Sufi music in my guitar. Okay. So in the future, I hope that becomes.
Okay,
that I hope is also comes true for us as well. Yes, Excellency.
If I can add an element, because it's very important. I think when cultural figures like Pedro, like others come to Pakistan or vice versa, Pakistani figures come to Portugal, so important as the shows are the interactions. Because interactions are very fruitful. They feed, they motivate, they give impetus to new things to happen. And 2 years ago, it was the first time that we brought here a very famous Portuguese writer called José Luís Peixoto, translated in 30 languages around the world, very well known. And he was so motivated by all the interactions that he had here in Lahore, Islamabad, that he really has the plan and the program to come back to Pakistan, spend 2 months, 3 months traveling, and to write a travel book, fictional, half fiction, half reality, on Pakistan topic. So it will happen, I'm sure. And in the case of Pedro, as he mentioned, I believe that indeed it has been like a couple of days, but we talked a little bit about it, and these shows that he's been doing here in Islamabad and Lahore, and all the interactions have been quite rich, I believe. And so I feel that Pedro probably in the future will offer us that will be new. It will be the first time, some kind of product, some kind of fruit of fusion between
that would be wonderful if that
his musical world and the impact, influence that he had in this region.
All right. Quick set of questions to the last set of questions to the both of you. First of all, you've talked about many areas of cooperation between Pakistan and Portugal. You've talked about the cultural aspect of it all. What are the avenues that you feel still need to be explored?
I think there is a lot of things that can be done in all fields. We are interacting in trade, in investments, in consultancy. We have a big mobility, human mobility. The Pakistani community in Portugal is a very sizable now. With 4 main groups, you have the workforce, the ordinary migrants in services and economy, but you also have a lot of digital nomads. You have a lot of students and researchers, a big lot, it's improving very much. And you also have a lot of people that just goes to Portugal to live, to retire or to live. There is a big number too. So this connects, all this is impacting. There are investments on both sides. But of course it can be increased. That's why the world is never finished. There is no end of this.
There's always a new opportunity, a new avenue.
And that's very interesting what you mentioned about this fusion and this connection, because if you would like to, there is a specific music of Pedro that I think it's so much symbolic of this interaction of styles of classic and contemporary of Portugal and Pakistan, different geographies. The number 2 of Armandinho. Indeed, I think.
Okay, we will do that, but I would like to end the show with that piece. Message for Pakistan, message for the people of Pakistan.
My main message is the Pakistani people is a very kind one. Is generous, is devoted to values, to family, to friendship. They are very generous in general. They have a rich culture. My advice it would be for the young people mostly to look to the past. The history of Pakistan didn't start 8 years ago. Didn't start 7 centuries ago. It started 4,000 years ago. And it's part of the ADN. This big country, this so diverse country, beautiful. I think it's very important for each Pakistani, in order to increase the sense of proudness of the country, to know more about the history of Pakistan. I think that there is something to do on
Exactly,
this field.
there's a lot to learn from it as well, and to enrich in your experience. Finally, Pedro, Jóia, I'd like to understand, somebody who speaks a universal language of music, what message would you like to leave to all those young Pakistani artists who are exploring your form of classical guitar or guitar as such, or global musical fusion today? What would you recommend to them? What would you tell them to do?
First thing, respect always tradition, because our ancestrals, they built it for us, and we are very proud of getting the profits of it. At the same time, try to innovate always, respecting that information. Try to go always a step forward, always with respect and truth. That's the most important, because music is about feelings, emotions, but truth.
I think respect and truth is something that I'll take out from you as a personality, and you as well, Excellency. That is what you have, and that is also part of the society and the familial structure that we all have. That is also something that binds us together, that structure of respect, of truth, of respect, respecting the elders, respecting those who have more knowledge than you, and understanding from them and imbibing from them as well. Thank you very much to both of my guests, Excellency Frederico Silva and of course Pedro Jóia, who I have had the pleasure watching and listening to, and I hope this will be the first of many such encounters that we are going to have, and with you as well, Excellency. This is my first interaction with you, but I hope this will be the first of many. Truth, respect are part, ladies and gentlemen, of our culture, of our traditions, and so are they of the Portuguese culture and traditions as well. You've heard the music of Pedro Jóia. You've seen how fused it is, how ingrained it is, not only in the Portuguese culture, but also in the culture of love, respect, and tradition. And that is what you need to take from you, for yourself, from such music, from the arts, is how to respect that. Because when you respect the arts and you respect the culture, whether it be yours or any other countries, you somehow respect your own self and the people around you. I think respect in this day and age, when you see a lot happening across the world, becomes more important. Understanding and respect. That is how we build nations. That is how we build understanding and collaboration. And that is what strengthens the brotherly relations between countries and the community of nations. Omar, Khalid bids you farewell. It's not the end. Omar, Khalid bids you farewell from this very musical episode of Diplomatic Enclave. Thank you very much. I'd like to just, thank the both of you for this very interesting episode. But I'm not leaving these guys soon. We are going to end this show with the musical performance that the Excellency had, asked Pedro Jóia to perform. You have to again tell us which piece this is.
This is an arrangement I made over a tune of Armandinho, which was a great guitar player from Lisbon from the first half of the 20th century. Okay.